Welcome to the Church of Thomas. These are readings from Awakenings in an Age of Angels. This one is called Corruptions. As you can see, a people can only be given when it can be understood. Like an infant given a steak will choke. An older child would know how to chew. An infant people could injure themselves, or stare mystified at a gift they would have no hope of understanding. The One gives people what they will understand, and when they will be able to conceive what the gift means. Most understanding of the physical world as we know it has come in the last 100 years, with a few exceptions like Ben Franklin providing leaps in development. He took lightning out of the category of the vengeance of God. He showed it to be that it was a marvel, but not supernatural. He did this partly with a device that has not been significantly improved upon for 200 years. His lightning rod has saved thousands of lives a year since he invented it. There are still Western cultures that speak of, "May God strike you dead." These are presumably intelligent people. The One never intended that a person check their intellect at the door when entering a place of worship. It is time to reconcile the intellect and the need to know a spiritual path that is the search for meaning. The feud has gone on way too long. They must find a way to work together to achieve people's full potentials. This book has been meant to open a dialogue. This book is not going to be the last revision. It is certainly not the first. As a mark of my resolve, I would say to spiritual people, I will ask the One to turn away from anyone who tries to write these words in stone. The same will hold true of any corruptions added by human law in the form of redactions. To the people who study the natural world, I say, all knowledge is worth seeking. I will add that without spirit, there will be no real responsibility of the consequences of these discoveries. There is a need to test every assumption, but inspiration is not logical or repeatable. Does that mean it is no less valid a place in science? The schism was formed by human vanity, politics, and power-seeking on both sides of the feud. To spirit, I say open and use your mind. To science, I say open your heart and use your conscience. There will be a way to know if the next revision comes from the One. You will know them by their fruit, which is unconditional love. Test them, test them, test them again. People will try to hijack these words for their own purposes. If they do not pass this simple test, reject what they have to say. All is part of the One, and that way is love, period. Some examples of angel-given truths have been corrupted follow. Lightning. It has changed from a joyous, though disruptive romp to a sign of God's anger. It transformed trees and high places into territories reserved for God, i.e. Zeus, Tor, the god of the sons of light, of the Levites. Being safely flat on the earth, this evolved into a form of worship, God of human origins. Instead of pragmatism that is still useful today for those who are caught out in a storm, it became a barrier between people and the One. It became cowering between multiple gods or between good and evil. It is not possible to see the One if you fear the One. This corruption is very effective in feeding evil. Caves. When these songs were sung, people had no idea they had anything to do with the conception of babies. That knowledge did not become apparent until the domestication of livestock. This is why the womb cave symbolism and connection to mothers come first. The gardens were dead until seeds were reborn. This all added to the idea of womb origin, return to source, and rebirth. This symbolism continues in most traditions of religious followers, i.e., catacombs under the church floors, tomb of Jesus, sacred bone depositions of native Hawaiians. We have tunnels, mines, and buried installations all over the world. The land of the dead is not underground, but these traditions continue. When the understanding of the fraternity came to light, there needed to be an opposite. The corruption started to, as most do, benignly. Caves became not a source, but a place of darkness. They became places of death, not rebirth. At this point, it was just a shift in viewpoint. This changed when people codified the idea in not so benign ways. The underground came to represent not just death, but hell. Hades and the Jewish tradition of hell transformed into a place where evil incarnate dwelled. Hell was a place of suffering, home of evil, and punishment. At this time, there will also be a shift between men and women. Any semblance of balance was lost at this point. Women became evil because they were the caves. They needed guidance, control, and domination. Without balance, the potential of people was greatly diminished, which is wasteful. The one frowns upon waste of all kinds. The other does not have a form that people can understand. However, a person sees the one is acceptable. There is no male or female of the one. It is the need of people to be able to see a face. In addition, when they find an image that comforts them, they want to put a name to that face. I have put a name to the one for the same reason. It comes from the Judaic tradition of calling God the one with no name. There is just no word to describe this concept otherwise. It is not the face of the name that added the meaning, however. It is the manifestation of love in all of its forms. It is not just love that can be felt, but it must be expressed. It must be expressed by action, intent, and by living as closely to the ideal of that feeling of love as is humanly possible. The one does not expect perfection. The one just wants you to meet. The one just wants to meet you. In that meeting, you will know that you are always loved and that you are never alone.